within the black community, it's not causing an increase in the crime rate. It's not doing that. It's not doing that. And then the more research that you find out, you realize no, that it's actually having a profound impact. And rest in peace to civil rights activist Dolores Tucker. But back in the 1990s, she made a lot of headways because she felt as though hip hop culture, in particular, the aspect of gangsta rap, was detrimental. She said the fact that it degraded black women and it really more or less was impacting the youth and causing them to think and behave in a certain way. And she said that her whole thing was principle must come before profit. All right, welcome everybody to another episode of Manage the Mental. It's so good to be able to be in everybody's presence again. Once again, I am EJ. I'm one half of a duo that's going to give you 100% of what I do know. And you all, I am blessed to have the greatest co-host in the world by the name of...
My name is Terrence, licensed therapist in California, Texas. I'm joined by the infamous EJ. If you don't know, well, now you know. We are Manage the Mental. And yeah, we got one, man. I think you had hit me with this topic last night, man. I think it's important that we talk about it, but then also I think there's a point where we don't really recognize or realize like how much of this has an impact on our mental health. As we know, mental health is everything. I mean, we're in a society now where mental health is being more readily known and more acceptable and more integrated into our culture and our society. Um, this one thing, man, is I think a real big part of why we maybe behave the way we do, we drive the way we do. Uh, after a certain time, there's certain music that, I mean, me personally, for like, we'll be talking about music more so, but like there's certain things that I realize just within myself, how my mood changes and things of that nature. You want to kick it off, or what's your thoughts?
I think about this day and age, and I think age-old argument used to always be about, oh man, music, it don't really impact people like that. It's not
Mm-hmm.
it's not causing these within the black community, it's not causing an increase in the crime rate. It's not doing that. It's not doing that. And then the more research that you find out, you realize no, that it's actually having a profound impact. And rest in peace to civil rights activist Dolores Tucker. But back in the 1990s, she made a lot of headways because she felt as though hip hop culture, in particular, the aspect of gangsta rap, was detrimental. She said the fact that it degraded black women and it really more or less was impacting the youth and causing them to think and behave in a certain way. And she said that her whole thing was principle must come before profit. And so you fast forward 30 years later, and because of what was going on in the 90s, a lot of things seeped through, which allowed more things to come through, including, most recently in the past decade, and maybe a little change with drill rap. These messages that these kids get are profound, T. And what you
Mm-hmm.
realize is that music, even though it is an art form, it is also on its very basic level a form of communication. And so
100%.
whatever messaging you're getting, if you're at church, there's a chances are when you're sitting there in the pews and you're listening to a sermon, you're not getting upset. You're not wanting to say like, oh yeah, nah, I feel like I'm about to go hurt somebody now. Chances are that it's not doing that. It's communication though. But if you are listening to messages and communications that are inciting violence, that are encourage, the degradation of, your own people and the demise of your own people, then eventually, it does start to consume you a little bit, especially when that 808 is behind those lyrics
Mm-hmm.
and what I'm saying, is thumping and all that kind of stuff. It impacts you.
Yeah, not 1,000%. And I think there's a science behind it, right? Like there's a whole like system. Like we have early on, music was used as a form of communication. That it was, if you think about even just like drums, were used to amp up the warriors before they go to war. You know, certain like trumpets and things of that nature in Europe mean, royalty was coming. There's always these different messages to it. But as I was doing some research, and I stumbled across the what they call the parasympathetic system and the
Hmm.
sympathetic system, right? So the parasympathetic system is the neural pathways within our brain that causes the calm, the relaxation, which is usually done with like a slow tempo, maybe like, for example, I know we have like, shout out to what's that lo-fi girl on YouTube.
Man, stop playing.
So that's one of the slow tempo, parasympathetic, more calm instruments and things of that nature. But then also there's a concept of like fast and loud music where the neural pathways of a sympathetic is a system or in our nervous system is more the alert, the hyper, the upbeat, right? So typically that's something like a fire alarm or police siren or things of that nature. But also those same neural pathways have a way of translating that into like our music as well. So it's like, okay, well, you're not going to be listening to lo-fi. You're trying to get active in the club or whatever. You're not going to be listening to lo-fi, right? Or if you trying to you trying to pregame or whatever, you're not going to be listening to lo-fi. I think it is important too. Like it's not just like you listen to music and oh I feel away. Like there's a science behind it. Like our brains are wired to receive these messages so that when we hear things, there's a behavior that follows it, right? There's a physical response to it. It's not just okay, we like this music or we like this artist or we like hip hop or we like country, jazz, whatever, and that's just our favorite music and that's what gets us going. But it's literally how our brains are hearing this and processing and how our body responds to it. Um, I thought that was super interesting, especially when we talk about mental health and how even like we're saying like music, like I'll use NWA, late '80s, early '90s ish, where you had FTP, F the Police was one of the biggest tracks out there, but it even though it persuade a message, it created a movement as well.
Yes.
Obviously, like, me personally, I don't like condone all that came with it, but what it did, it brought a certain energy, right? If you listen to something like, Drake, Kendrick, even that, you listen to even like the beef between them, like their music was more of like, had an amp up to it, right? And obviously, Kendrick, shout out to Kendrick, he won. I feel like he won the battle. I don't know. Some people may, may feel different, but when you heard that,
Yeah, it's
it was
smooth.
like, he didn't have to say nothing before, the words was just added on. It's like that hyper alert. And especially from the West Coast, you feel that to a certain degree. You're like, oh, this is hard. Like before you even say anything, the words just add on to it. So I'll say that all to say, and I'm glad we even discussing this a bit more in detail is like how music actually has an impact on our mental health. It's not just there just to be there and make us feel good or make us feel a type of way, but there is a science behind it.
Yeah,
Um,
and that I think that's profound, T. And thank you for sure for being able to break it down in that way, as far as applying some of the knowledge from a scientific aspect of how it impacts. But you also realize like no matter as much as we don't like to admit that it can have negative impacts, it's real. If you look at any sporting team, anybody that's played any sports before, any team sports, if you ever played football, basketball, whatever the case is, one of the things that happens in the locker room to set the tone, I can promise you they're not playing opera music. It's not happening. That's not what it is. They're
Mhm.
playing something to get it lit, to
Yeah.
like, you know what I'm saying, to start like, you feel it. It really does set the mood. It sets the mood. Even if it's like time for you and your lady to engage, you know what I mean? Y'all having one-on-one adult time, whatever the case is, you're not finna be like, oh babe, hold tight. Let me go put on that Eminem real quick. That's not finna
Hey, some
happen.
people wild though.
Yeah, some people not don't get it twisted. We got some
Some
people
people
that
gonna
might,
put on that Eminem. Some people gonna put on that Limp Bizkit, go crazy.
yeah, and go
No,
go ballistic. Yeah, where's the Marilyn Manson, babe? So we, you know what I'm saying?
hey,
That's for some, but ideally for a lot of people, and even then, it's to create it's the mood. Going back to when it's time to go to sleep. When it's time to go to sleep, I chances are it's like, oh man, I'm so tired. Like, going to put on that NBA YoungBoy soundtrack so I can go to sleep. Going to put on that album so I can get some rest. I'm tired. No, you looking for something that's going to be able to calm your nervous system. And at the end of the day, going back to the scientific aspect of it, music has a major, profound impact on your nervous system.
That's a big one.
It makes you feel a certain type of way. And you can't deny that. Like, when people are out doing whatever, there's a feeling associated with it. So if somebody is out there acting violent, I can pretty much sure if you were thinking about what music were they listening to or what were they doing, it's probably not, it wasn't Mahalia Jackson. It's not like this is great. BB and CC Winings are not, the artists of choice when it's finna time to go slide. It's not happening. Instead, it's the message. I need a message. Because music also stands as more or less a tool for encouragement for whatever it is that you're trying to do. It serves as a tool of encouragement. And so learning these things, I think it is so important to understand people that were trying to bring this to our attention before it got to this point where it's gotten. Believe it or not, Dolores Tucker, what was so profound about her, she actually bought stock. She was a major share. She bought a gang of shares of maybe like Sony or something it was back in the day, just so she could go to the meetings, to the quarterly meetings and things like that. So she could advocate about what was going on. But when you also look at the civil rights era, right? It was specific songs. You get hear the song, you hear, with MLK and Malcolm X from,
Mhm.
they were listening to, Sam Cooke, Change Gonna Come, the impressions, People Get Ready. It was the soundtrack to a time. And so
Yeah.
believe it or not, music always serves as a soundtrack, and music is a reflection oftentimes of what's going on. But what has happened is when you apply the price tag on it, a lot of other things tend to seep through. And music is just like news. If it bleeds, it leads. Whatever bleeds leads. That's what people want to, hear. So this is a subject matter that I think can continue to be discussed, especially and particularly within the Black community, Black and brown community, and things like that. Just having an honest, you know, type of dialogue about it. What does music do, and are we able to even hold artists accountable? You know, because a lot of times we don't want to do. We come from a place now in 26. You don't want to say, I don't want to hate. I don't want to no. But sometimes you got to hold artists accountable. What are you conveying when your music is coming on these airwaves? What is the messaging toward to these little girls, to the little boys? What is is it good? And I hear a lot of people say, "Well, man, that's a parenting issue." Be that two things can be true, but yet and still, as a people that have been greatly marginalized historically, is this helping?
Hmm.
When we think about our biggest influences, at the end of the day, the music industry got so big for, within, our community that politicians aren't like, or, major shareholders aren't our biggest influences. Our biggest inspirations are athletes and musicians. That's how big it is. And it's not like the ones that we look to are necessarily carrying out, especially when it comes to music, saying the most profound things that are beneficial to us.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, I agree with you 100%, man. And I think I think that's in addition to this conversation, like the responsibility of artists. Like, is there a responsibility for people that put out that music? And I mean, ultimately, I personally think there is a responsibility for any content that you put out there, whether you feel like it's right or you're living your truth, quote unquote, or whatever it may be. But there is a level of responsibility that you may have to assume for the energy you put out there. Because, music is essentially a form of energy, right? Because it is excuse me, it is you have emotions in motion, right? So anything you put out, like if you're upset or if you're like saying F the police or, shake whatever it may be, that's energy you're putting out. So like there is a level of responsibility. Like you can tell people, oh yeah, you're not supposed to listen to it, you're not, or maybe parents should be better parents. That's cool. But I think that conversation is dead because back in the day, I'm saying back in the day, I'm making myself feel old, dog. About to be, I make myself feel old. I got a side note, funny story. Maybe I'll share later on that happened a couple days ago, but that made me feel really old. But that's besides the point. Before you had to get parental consent to buy certain music. Nowadays, like we always use this as an example, you have access to any type of music now that you have a phone. So there's a level of responsibility I feel like artists is or any content creators or whoever it may be has a level of responsibility for the things that they put out for sure. But I think we should most definitely do a whole episode just on that alone.
For
Um,
sure.
but but most definitely music. I think in context, most definitely for the listeners, you guys are, that's tuned in. Be mindful about what you listen to. I think that's
Yeah,
the big part is like mindfulness around what you listen to. We're not saying what to listen to or what not to listen to, but if you are choosing a pathway in your life, is the music that you listen to aligned with what you're trying to do ultimately with your life? Like, hey, if you plan to, be a stripper, whatever it may be, that might be the music for you. That may be your aspiration. If you plan to be a rapper or you plan to spend the rest of your life in jail, that may be the music for you. But if you're really trying to um, be at peace, you're really trying to be in alignment with whatever God had assigned for you. Just being mindful about the music you listen to because that music is going to bleed into your behavior. And you may feel like, okay, well, I'm strong enough to do it, but me being a tester myself, I could be in a real calm mood, listen to something crazy, and then like drive erratic. Like that's that I know that about myself personally, and knowing again my relationship I have with my own nervous system is understanding that okay, if I want to be calm, I need to listen to calm music. If I want to be amped up in the gym, I need to maybe listen to certain. I'm not listening to lo-fi in the gym. Maybe I need a different type of energy for the gym. But being mindful about the energy you're carrying while you're being mindful about the music you listen to, for sure.
oh, it's huge, man. It's huge, and again, I think we just have to come to terms that music is influential. Number one, it's no ifs, ands, or buts, and it does, it creates a manufacture of mood.
Hmm.
It is a manufacturer of mood. No, and it's kind of like non-disputed. Even when you think about babies, what do babies listen to? You want a baby to go to sleep, you put on music, lullabies, and it's a certain cadence, it's a certain tone. Sonically, it's just at a certain level because you're trying to execute, you're trying to do something. You want the child to go to sleep, so you need that. So if you want the same happens, if you want somebody to wake up, if you want somebody to energize somebody, it's all about, the sonically how's it going. But then when you incorporate lyrics, when you get to an old enough age that you start understanding lyrics and things like that, it also the words impact your mood.
100%.
You continue to just, I think it's a conversation that can continue to be had. I don't think I think there's plenty of room for actually a bunch of different conversations about this subject matter. When you think about in 2026, I don't know if you've seen some of the things that's come on the news, but they've been talking about like rap fatigue. And what has happened
Yeah,
is
so
this
I
is the
haven't heard of
first
that. Rap
time.
fatigue? It's called
Yeah,
fatigue?
yeah, rap fatigue,
Oh,
rap
you gotta
fatigue.
explain that. What's that? What is that?
So what has happened is hip hop is kind of going through hip hop or rap music is kind of going through some commercial changes. Meaning like this is the first time for years it was the number one genre in the world, wasn't even close. Wasn't even
Mm,
close. But now it has slid off. And I think partly was it because you got artists today that are as incredible as we've ever seen before, but a lot of them are not at the forefront. A lot of them are virtually almost unknown because I think for a lot of people in our age range, we're old enough now to kind of know, like, man, I don't like that messaging. it's bad. As we're people that go by vibes and energy and like, yeah, I don't even like that. I don't like what they're saying. You know what I'm saying? It's not good. And so because of that, rap fatigue, where the charts were, it was all rap at one time, is really, really slid down. Not to
Mhm,
mention that I think that battle with Kendrick, in which Kendrick definitely won. No ifs, ands, or buts. But
mhm,
that battle messed up probably a whole lot of things, because the cash cow of hip hop, the one that for probably the past 10 plus years that kind of really stayed at the top, being Drake, he ain't really came out with no music.
mhm.
And if Drake's not in the picture, you can bet it's gonna take a hit, whether people realize it or not. He did a did a whole lot in these past like 15 years for the genre. He did a whole lot. And so when he not making music, not collaborating, not featuring, because it's kind of like it was a lot of eggs in one basket as far as the industry goes. Okay, Drake can push us
That's a
through.
good
Drake
point.
can push us through. If it's not Kanye or one of those type people, when they're not putting out stuff, obviously Kanye just came out with an album, but of course it's Kanye, so it's kind of divisive. But people are not, people like they moving on to something different. We were just talking about like, man, I just listen to lo-fi, I just chill, bro. When I'm at
To
home,
be honest,
I
bro,
don't want to
like,
hear about I don't want to hear about no black man getting killed or shot
mm,
by way of music.
and like, I mean, that's why I guess when I was saying too, I agree with you. I didn't think about that Drake situation though. That actually makes a lot of sense. But I mean, me personally, I listen to music like I can relate to, right? So if I can't relate to it, I don't necessarily listen to it. Now, it wasn't always like that.
No,
You
it
can
wasn't.
you can be a virgin and listening to some like crazy sexually explicit lyrics that as a kid, right? It's like you know nothing about no sex, but you listening to it, but you know nothing about it. I think that's just me personally where I'm at in my life is just listening to stuff that I can relate to or aspire to be or do. Like I know for me personally, I do listen to a lot of like you know gospel music now, but I do listen to like, Nipsey and then, even Nipsey's one of my favorite. I mean, he is my favorite rapper, but some music with some things he talk about, I can't resonate with it, right? I mean, I can't relate to it because that's not who I am nor who I aspire to be. So there are some songs that I don't necessarily like I won't listen to fully. Um, Larry June, was one of my another favorite artists that I listen to. A lot of his music may not resonate with me, but some songs that I do enjoy listening to. Even back in the day, I'm listening, I'm a big West Coast hip hop, Ice Cube, Easy, NWA, Dre, Snoop, Corrupt, the whole Dog Pound, Daz Dillinger, all those folks, DJ Quick, Sugar Free, all them. But when I listen to the music now, I can't relate to it or resonate with it. So it's hard
Yeah,
for me to
yeah,
really like grasp onto it. Like if I listen to it, it's like nostalgia. Oh
right,
man, I used to,
right.
but then if I look at the concept of my life, I can't relate to that. You call me L7, whatever it is, but
It don't
that's just not.
it no longer, it just doesn't fit, you know.
Hmm.
If it's about hurting, it's about intentionally hurting other black men or
Hmm.
degrading, black women and stuff like that. It's probably at this point, it's kind of like fast food. Like, hey, you get to a certain age, well, this man, you taking in a little too much.
Yeah.
It's gonna tax you. You know what I'm saying? Spiritually, mentally, and stuff like that. Like, you don't want to just have a steady diet of that.
Hmm.
Now, don't get it wrong. I'll listen to anybody. I can recite things that just, because maybe when I was younger, and there's a lot of talented people that don't, saying that when they are in their zone and they really talk, it's thought provoking. Anybody that know me, I listen to like Maxo Cream or Mozzie or any cast like that. And obviously they not always talking, the most savory of
Hmm.
subject matter. But once they get in pocket about certain things,
Yeah.
absolutely amazing.
There's
Nip,
a.
I think to your point with Nip was just so inspirational if you were in LA during his come up. Not so much even just the commercial success, but he was somebody that if you were in South Central Los Angeles, you couldn't help but to see his actual come up, him putting posters up, whether it be on La Brea all the way to Western, like you would see, like, and just to see the whole thing. And then to his interviews actually may be more profound than his actual
Oh, a
music.
thousand
And a
percent.
lot
Like
of
his view,
people don't
yeah,
talk about that.
interviews,
His
yeah, his stuff.
actual interviews are actually more profound than his music. And he's had some incredible things. Like
Word.
Overtime is one of my favorite songs
Yeah,
ever. You know what I'm saying? But
I had
he's
a mic.
his
I was in that
interviews, when you
studio.
listen to it, I was like, oh yeah, this boy, yeah. He on that kind of time. Him and his brother both. Very, very intelligent. So they had a degree, Nip had a degree of consciousness that would, be present in a lot of his tracks. And so, the youth need more of that.
Yeah, to this day, most definitely is my favorite artist is Nipsey. I don't think that'll ever change. Yeah, but yeah, there was a time, man, between 2000 like 10, 2015. I mean, going into 16, 18-ish. Like, I mean, I'll say 2010 to 2015. Like he was in LA. Yeah, it was cracking.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie to you. It was, for me, it was probably about like '06 when I first got to LA. I be driving, I be riding around, and I'd always see this picture. And me being from St. Louis, I can't
Yeah,
tell what people are. I come from a place, you either black, white, and if you Asian, they gonna consider you Chinese. So I would just I didn't know what he was, but I see like these
yeah,
little posters hanging up all
yeah,
on, like, who is this dude? Who is this dude? And then I would learn. I'm like, I see these. Who is this dude? Like
yeah,
it'd be like Bullets Ain't Got No Name, or those back at that time. But I mean, the grind was unbelievable. But again, to that point, his interviews, if you want, man, listen, you talk about $1 million worth of game. Shout out to Gillian Wallow, Nip. Them interviews, he would drop some gems.
still relevant to this day. Still relevant. Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, man, I think this is a most definitely as always, man. It's always a pleasure talking to you and speaking about these topics is for around music and mental health. I think these are topics. I mean, we clearly can deep dive. We can talk about this all day. Like we talk about this all
Yeah,
day
for
for
sure.
sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know we come to the point of our show. It's called the dry down. And I know
Yes,
E, you
yes.
got something for us today.
I do,
Cool.
man. I
Okay.
do. This is one of my first joints. Because I want to make sure I have my notes right, of course. But this right here, you guys, come in a little gold bag. This is from a house by the name of Mansera, which is a house that's actually finally, it's getting a little more traction it is a niche house, but it's getting a little more traction, of course, on the commercial side. Like, I think even, what is it, Sephora carries it now. Something I got some years. Yeah, man, Sephora carrying. I think what's happening is Sephora is trying to occupy and take over heavy on that niche space. I think the reason behind it, and I could be completely wrong, but the business side, to me, it makes sense, is because there's going to be more Sephoras in places than Neiman Marcus or Saks. So they're buying up that portion. So you're starting to see Mancera, you're starting to see Killian. It's a few different niche born to stand out. You're starting to see a few different niche houses on the shelves of Sephora. So, and don't get me wrong, I said Mancera. It's really Montal that I seen at Sephora. I haven't seen Mancera yet, but of course they're sister companies for people that don't know. But this is Instant Crush, you guys. This is something I collected years ago, right when that Baccarat Rouge 540 DNA was really starting to, permeate with people a little bit. I wanted something, but I wanted something a little more potent. So I would do a lot of research on stuff like that. And before the extrait came out for the Baccarat Rouge, the red bottle, this came out from Mancera Instant Crush. And so you guys just are well aware of it. As far as the chords in this thing, it's definitely woody, it's spicy, it got some vanilla, a little metallic, a little rose, it got a little spice to it. But the main notes, guys, at the top, you got saffron, and it's potent. It's no ifs, ands, or buts. Still good. You got ginger, you got Sicilian mandarin, you got Sicilian bergamot. Those are the top notes. Now your middle notes, you guys, in the middle, you're gonna have that amberwood. They have a rose. It's actually a Moroccan rose to be exact. Egyptian jasmine. They got patchouli too, and I believe that's Indonesian patchouli leaf that they have. And then there is you got some oak moss, you got some white musk, you got some your wood, some sandalwood, and vanilla. And actually, it's Madagascar vanilla that is at the base. So when it dries down, this really does it. So anybody listening to this, if you're looking to get inside the world of niche, you want niche perfumery, and say you don't want to pay that tall ticket, that
Mm.
400 dollars for a bottle, you can get one of these Manceras. This is not necessarily a dupe or anything like that. This is an actual niche house that puts out some great fragrances. For me, fall time, winter time, easy reach. Easy reach. If I got to go to a meeting or something like that, I just want to put something on, easy reach. So again, guys, that's Instant Crush by Mancera.
What would you say projection and longevity is for you?
This is, this, well, so people know Mancera is in Montal. They are both known for longevity, very known, super known for longevity. You're definitely going to get a scent trail or what is known as a sillage. When, AKA, when you walk past somebody and somebody smell you from a couple feet after you walk past, people are like, hey, what is that? That's known as a sillage, but it's powerful. It's up there, and it lasts all day. This is, of course, it's Mancera, so you got to wash it out of your clothes. You got to take it to the dry cleaners once you put it on.
Mancera is one of them ones. That was my you introduced me to that line. That was my first niche that I bought.
That's a drop, Bose.
Yes, it's Rob Bose. Mancera till this day has the best atomizers, in my
Yes,
opinion, of
yes,
any fragrance company.
it's
I haven't
fresh.
found a fragrance company that's like, and not I'm not talking about like, oh, it's like some has like a mist or like I can't even think of no ones that even compare. Like PDM has a good one ish, but that pressurized, like it's like pressurized and then it pops up to fill back up. Like it's like like
Yeah,
the best atomizers in the
I don't think
game.
they can. I don't think they will be able to see it.
You gotta have like a black background or some sort,
Yeah,
but see you can hear it. You even heard you didn't even if you
yeah,
even
yeah,
right now heard that.
yeah,
You heard
yeah.
that.
That's
Yeah,
it's
not to
smooth.
this day, man. I most definitely. I don't have instant crush, man. I just put it on my list for my fall fragrances.
It
Most
doesn't.
definitely,
It's
man,
a sweet joint, but it's a compliment grabber.
for sure. Yeah, I'm looking at longevity projection. Man, that's what's up. That's what's up, man. As we wrap, man, we appreciate y'all for tapping in. Make sure you guys like, share, subscribe, do all the great things, keep these things rocking and rolling. Make sure you guys check our links in our bio, also our website. To check in. Our next mid-month check-in is going to be happening
May
May
the 12th.
May 12th. So make sure you guys tap into that. If you guys are listening beyond that, what we're doing is a mid-month check-in, give you guys the opportunity to check in with us. We want to be able to provide support, provide a community for those who, so you don't have to do life alone. So we want to create that space for you guys once a month. But be sure to tune in to the next one. And yeah, we will see y'all at the next episode. Make sure you guys like, share, subscribe, do all the great things. Keep this podcast and these videos rocking and rolling. All right. You guys take care.